Hey, what's going on, everybody? This is Travis, back with another episode of the Rep by Rep Strength Podcast. So, first and foremost, if you have not done so yet, make sure you go and sign up for my newsletter, my email newsletter that comes out 3 times per week. It comes out every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. You can do that at travisbarrett.com/email. And what you'll find in that newsletter is stuff on mindset, training, recovery, nutrition, things along those lines. So, anyway, now that we got that out of the way, I'll go ahead and hit on the points I was wanting to talk about this morning. So, I'm headed into work right now because we are going to assess right around 60 students or so. So, at this military base I work with special warfare, and we have a ton of students that come through on a yearly basis. So a lot of them are just here for a few weeks and then they're gone. And then the other portion is here for a longer term. So that's the group that I'm going to work with and assess this morning. So what we're going to do is go through a training session, and then we're going to have a little bit of a down period, and then we'll go through basically a modified functional movement screen and a work capacity test. So the functional movement screen is not perfect. It's not the end-all be-all by any means, but it does leave clues, leaves some good indicators for us as a team, myself, the physical therapy and the physical therapy assistant to look at a bit further if we need to, so we can say, hey, these red flags popped up with these people, so we need to have a little more in-depth look at them, make sure everything's good to go. So that's basically what we're after with that. So the students that are here a little bit longer term, they get to know me, they get to understand and see where I'm coming from when we're talking training, recovery, nutrition, and they understand the bigger picture of what we're trying to do and what we're trying to get accomplished. So one of these things that we'll talk about is training versus testing. A great example of this was yesterday. So the students that are here just short term, I don't work with them really. They come in the gym, and if they need something, they'll come up and say, hey, I've got a question about XYZ. Can you help me out? Yeah, no problem. Happy to do it. But the majority of these guys who come through are they're very, very competitive people. And it's just funny, especially when you've been going in and training for a long time, to see the younger guys come in and all they give a shit about is trying to posture and position amongst themselves. And it, unfortunately, if they continue down that path, is going to set them up for injury or severe muscle imbalances later on down the road. So yesterday was a perfect example. There was about 15 to 20 of these guys that came in. They're all from different military installations, and they're all doing their, I doubt they're even following a strict training program. They're probably just haphazardly doing their own training. And they get so caught up looking at each other, seeing how much weight is the other guy lifting, how much weight is he lifting, oh man, I better put more weight on the bar, and their technique looks like shit, and they're not getting good quality reps. The intention behind how they're moving the weight is not where it should be. And that's where we get into training versus testing. Were they actually training from a long-term perspective, or were they just positioning and posturing and trying to test so that they could look cool or, be at the top of the pack or whatever. So the vast majority of them were trying to test yesterday, and that's probably what they'll do every day that they come in to train while they're here, is they're all going to do these way, way, way too heavy lifts with poor technique that is going to set them up for injury later on down the road. So that's the first thing I wanted to talk about is, you know, when you are training, it should be following a structured system that adheres to some overall principles. When you come at it like that, you don't feel as much pressure or stress to hit XYZ numbers with a certain exercise, which, by the way, there is no magic exercise that you must do when you're in the weight room. It really does come down to what's most appropriate for you. You know, what's most appropriate for you based on your injury history, your training age, things of that nature. So when you're following a system and sticking to these principles, it makes the decisions a lot smoother, because you don't have to go into the gym and wonder, what should I do today? I hope this is right. It's no guesswork. You go in with a plan and you execute the plan, and then you reevaluate. That's all it is. So, good example of this is I just finished up another book by Dan John. And if you have not read his stuff, I would highly recommend checking out some of Dan John's work. I've seen him speak several times, read several of his books, and he has this great ability to simplify things, and then also to challenge your own perspectives. So I'm following something by him. I've modified it a little bit, but it's easy strength is what it's called. So the gist of it is, you pick the same 5 lifts, hit those lifts 5 out of the 7 days per week. The set and rep scheme will change a little bit here and there, but there's no percentage, there's no RPE, no RIR, none of that. It's literally come in once you get warmed up and you do your warm-up sets. After your first work set, if it feels easy, put a little bit more weight on the bar. If it feels too hard, back the weight off a little bit. So this concept that he introduces is, I love the way he says it, is we're just gently trying to nudge your numbers up. Basically, you're trying to establish a new normal or a new baseline, if you will. So, for example, I've been following it I'm on my 4th week right now. And the frequency is taking some getting used to for sure. But you're also the volume's extremely low every day. You're also not trying to redline every single day either. So as long as you can, not get too caught up in what the weight is on the bar, and you trust the process, it's going to work out well. So you basically reevaluate every 2 weeks, see what's going on. Are you progressing or not? And then you can either rotate movements every 2 weeks, or you can keep it the same for like an 8-week block. So I love it because of its simplicity, and you already know what you're going to do. So it really shortens your training time down a lot, because you don't have to wonder, oh man, well, this didn't work out well. No, it's none of that. It's just go in, execute. Okay, did I make a good decision or not? Because the main thing that I'm after here is postures and positions, number one, technique of a lift. And then from there, after each rep, you're thinking, okay, did I move that rep? Was that rep performed to the best of my ability? which is why this podcast has the name Rep by Rep Strength Podcast. Because if you can get so focused and so tuned in to, I'm not even going to worry about next month, next week, none of that stuff. I'm just going to focus on this workout. And you know what? I'm not even going to focus on just this workout. I'm just going to focus on just this set. No, that's not even as dialed in as I need to be. I'm not even going to focus on just this set. I'm going to focus on just this singular rep before I think about the next rep. So for example, if you're doing a set of 5, depending on how heavy that set of 5 is, it can feel like a marathon at times. So here's what I tell my athletes is focus on that first, let's say we're doing a back squat. Once you step out, focus on that first singular rep. Be fully present with that rep. Once you stand back up and you've performed that rep, take a breath, and then let's move into the next one. And then into the next one. Not getting ahead of yourself. That's the key. So that's kind of the same thing that I was seeing with these guys yesterday who were just testing. Is A, they were doing something what I call redlining, which I'll explain in just a moment why that's not good. But B, they weren't fully present with what they were doing. They were just caught up in, hey, let's just get these banged out. Let's just go through these reps, rather than evaluating and thinking, did I perform those to the best of my ability? Because that's where it gets hard. If you can really, really focus and have the intention to move the weight the way you're supposed to move it for the desired training adaptation that you're after. Because the intention is going to affect the adaptation a lot. So anyway, with the redlining, here's a mistake I'll see especially guys make all the time, is they will try to redline daily because they think, oh shit, if I don't go as hard as possible, I'm going to lose progress. I'm not going to be as good as I could be. And I understand where they're coming from there. Logically, when you hear it like that, it makes sense. However, here's the problem, is if you are constantly pushing. Morning, how are you? Thanks, you too. However, if you are constantly redlining and pushing that threshold, you're going to have severe burnout. You're more predisposed to injury. You're not giving your body any time to heal. So when you're looking at recovery, you can only train within the limits by which you're recovered. So we have to take a look at, okay, how is this training stress going to affect my tendons, my ligaments, my muscle, bone, nervous system, all of it? How's that going to affect me in the short term? How's that going to affect me in the long term? So as long as you have planned periods of rest, good things tend to happen. So how you go about arranging those periods of rest is dependent on you, is dependent on what you respond best to. And it's also dependent on what type of training system you're following. What principles are you sticking to in that regard? Because there's different, same underlying principles. Everybody needs rest, but depending on how you go about it, can look a little different person to person. The point is making sure that you have some sort of rest planned in so that your body can fully heal and adapt. So if we look at this within a week, I'll talk to these guys about, we're going to have, for example, what our weekly layout might look like is Monday might be our heaviest strength day of the week. Wednesday might be our high power output. Friday is going to be hypertrophy work. And I encourage these guys to take Saturday, Sunday off, or they should get out and just go for, a light jog, swim, bike, something minimal. So that's kind of what we're after there. And that's just an example of a training week that I've used with some of these guys in the past. But again, that's not something that everybody must adhere to or they must follow each week. It's really dependent on the person, what they have available, things like that. So anyway, that's what I've got going on. And I'll try to, I'm not sure what podcast number I'm on, but my target was trying to get 52 of these things cranked out this year. So if there's anything that you want to hear more about from me related to training, recovery, nutrition, mindset, whatever, please let me know, and I will be sure to cover that in the next episode. So until then, thanks for listening.